Hey everyone, how's it going? Cloud here, and welcome to my guide on the Khaos Slayer monster assignment. Now, if you're watching this guide, you're here for one of two reasons. Either you're aiming for 99 Slayer and want the best method to dealing with this Slayer monster, or you're already 99 Slayer, aiming for 120 and wanting the best method to capture this monster's soul for your Slayer Codex. Whatever reason you're here, this is the guide for you. Now, in this guide we'll be going through the following: the requirements to be assigned this monster as a task, which Slayer master assigns them and how many, best locations for the most effective kills, strategies and weaknesses of the monster, recommended equipment from highest to lowest, tips and tricks to obtain the soul for your codex or dungeon, social Slayer and its rewards, key drops to collect including handy items to help with this. Now, if you've already obtained 99 Slayer but haven't started the Sunken Pyramid Slayer Codex sort of activity, make sure you click the annotation in the video to view that before watching this one. You'll also find a link in the description below. Now, you can choose to watch a certain part of this guide if you wish, or you can just simply play through the whole video. If you go in the description, there's links to each individual part and the time to skip to that section. Now, for the Khaos Slayer assignment, unlike previous Slayer videos of mine where I'd normally give you a low level and a high level version of the monster, unfortunately for the Khaos they're just one standard enemy type, so you're going to have no sort of high level equivalent, but that's okay, we're going to go through the details anyway. Now, for the Khaos, there's no specific Slayer level required to be assigned them as a Slayer assignment, which is good. As for their actual details, so they are a level 4 combat level, they have 150 life points, their max hit is 12, they are weak to magic spells, mostly air spells, however different areas can affect whether it's air or earth, and they attack with a melee style combat. Now, as for Slayer Masters, the only Slayer Master to assign Khaos as a Slayer assignment is Churael. So Churael can be found southeast of the Tavali Lodestone, and you can see the little Slayer icon on the minimap. Now, if you completed the Wild Gothic Sleeps quest, Churael will be replaced by Spira, but they both have the same effect. So there's no actual sort of Slayer level required or combat level required to be able to use Churael as a task, and Churael or Spira will assign anything from 15 to 50 Khaos per Slayer assignment. So as for best locations, there's various locations all across RuneScape for Khaos, and some of you might not agree with the two that I've picked, but I've found, for me personally, these have been the best ones to use. So the first one is a very short distance to where Churael is, and there is a cow farm literally north of where the Tavali Lodestone is. Now, the good thing about this area is they're all very enclosed, so if you're going to be using magic, which is their weakness, you'll be able to use multiple hitting abilities in one go and dispatch them pretty quickly. And obviously, because they're in a close vicinity from each other, if you've got area loot enabled, you can also use that as well. So that's obviously one of the locations. For the other location, there's a bit of a trek to get here, but it's northwest of Draenor Village and northeast of Lumbridge, and it's basically right where the Champions Guild is. There's a farm near the bridge that crosses the River Lum, obviously also known as Beefyville's farm, as Beefyville is around this area, and he plays a little bit of significance to why I recommend this area, which I'll talk about a bit later on. So the Khaos here are a bit more sort of spread out as compared to the Tavali one, however there are more of them around here, and again, if you are using magic spells, you're going to be able to go around and pick them all off quite quickly anyway. Area loot will still be handy to use here if they're sort of dying in a close vicinity. But yeah, like I said at the beginning part, you've got loads of locations across RuneScape to use here. There's Khaos in Zonaris, there's Khaos in other sort of continents, but those are the two that I would most definitely recommend going after. So in terms of best strategy using their weaknesses, like I said at the beginning part of this guide, they are weak to magic spells, and again, depending on where the cow is will depend on what element, whether it's air, whether it's earth, etc, etc. But to be honest, if you are using one of the two locations that I've recommended, either Tavali or north of Lumbridge, if you're using evolution of combat abilities, you can use ones like Dragon Breath and Chain, I believe they're called, and that enables your spell to hit multiple enemies in your vicinity. You've also got the likes of Waterfall, which is obviously your 100% adrenaline ability. So if you're using those within this close area, you're going to be able to dispatch of quite a few cows in several seconds. In terms of collecting the loot, if you are wanting to collect the loot, I would probably wait until you've kind of killed a load of them, and then all the loot will be on the ground, and then you can use the area loot ability, which you can toggle through your settings if you're not too sure how to do that, and then you can basically collect what you want, whether you want the cowhide or the beef or the bones. Again, I'll speak about this a little bit later on in the tips and tricks, but you've obviously got the bone crusher that you can use, which will automatically bury the bones. That's then less loot to sort of pop up on the interface. But apart from that, there's no other real strategy using their weaknesses. Now, as for the Slayer Soul, now the likelihood of capturing a soul in general does have a few factors. So every kill has a chance of trapping a soul, which is affected by the base Slayer level compared to the creature's required level to kill. So obviously these only require a level 7 in Slayer. Obviously the higher Slayer level you are, the more likelihood you're going to capture them. Also, being on a Slayer assignment for the monster also doubles the chance of trapping the soul. So it is worthwhile trying to get as a soul if you're going to try and go about deliberately obtaining it. Just obviously make sure you've got your Ujapti in your inventory so you're able to capture the soul successfully. So as for recommended equipment, because the cows are weak to magic based spells, obviously the recommended equipment is going to be going with magic based armor and magic based weapons. So what I generally do in my videos is sort of show a low level, medium level and high level sort of recommended equipment loadout, and it's all going to depend on what your current state of play is. You're either just starting with Slayer, and if you're getting cows as a Slayer assignment, you're going to be a very low level. However, if you've already got 99 Slayer and you're trying to go about obtaining the soul, chances are you've got more resources to access the higher recommended equipment for the Slayer assignment. But again, obviously it is just recommended, so if you feel you want to mix up a little bit or go for something completely different, that's your choice. This is obviously just my recommendation. So I wanted to quickly talk about Social Slayer for those of you who don't know what that is. So Social Slayer is basically just like a normal Slayer assignment, however you can do it with a friend. So obviously I've been doing that myself with my good friend Thomas, aka Rune Movies, aka Mario Sonic, as we're both going about to obtain all the souls for our Slayer dungeon. Now how you go about doing this is with either your Slayer gem, or if you have a Slayer helmet, if you right click that item you can choose the option co-op options, and then you can invite your friend to join a Slayer party with you. Do note though that once you're in a Slayer party, if you sort of go too far apart from each other or one of you logs out, you will exit the Slayer party and will have to rejoin, so just do take note of that. But basically you'll then, if one of you asks for a Slayer assignment from your respective Slayer master, you'll both share that assignment between the two of you, which is quite handy because some of you will be able to influence what assignments you get. Now obviously the only disadvantage is obviously there'll be less kills between the two of you. So for example, if Chirel assigns you 50 cave bugs, best case scenario is you'll have 25 each. But obviously the perks of it is that you'll complete the assignment quicker, which will mean you'll get more Slayer assignment points, but you'll also collect what's known as Slayer co-op points, which can be used for additional rewards. Now being in a co-op party doesn't affect the chance of getting a soul, so you're not going to be at a disadvantage of doing it. So if you and a friend are both trying to obtain all of your 151 souls, I would recommend doing this as it makes it a little bit more fun, and the rewards you can get from the co-op points are quite good. You have the ability to use food on your partner, you can both share the same protective equipment, there's all different varieties of things you can use, so it is definitely recommended if you're up for that sort of thing. Now in terms of key drops to collect, obviously the cows do drop very sort of standard items. Now the 100% drops are obviously bones, cowhide and raw beef. Now I'll talk about those in a moment. Obviously the cows also do drop charms. There's a 95% of a no charm drop, and all the other charms have got sort of a very minuscule chance to be dropped. But again, you know, if you do get any, it's worth collecting as they're stackable. They do also drop Staffs of Air, which are obviously classed as rare, but they are worth a couple of K on the Grand Exchange. You can also choose to use high alchemy spells, or if you've got your Explorer's Ring with you, you can use that to save you obviously having to physically handle them. And you've also got sort of the additional drops like Spirit Emeralds, Rubies, Sapphires, etc. Now, one of the things that I would recommend, and this is why I recommended Beefy Bill's farm as one of the locations, however, this is going to require a Ring of Khaos for you to make the full advantage of. So basically, there's a guy called Beefy Bill who's in the vicinity. Now, if you speak to him, he will offer to deposit your raw beef and cow hides to your bank for a charge of 10% of the cost. So if you're going to ask him to do 20 cow hides to your bank, he will keep 2 of them. However, if you do have the Ring of Khaos, when you have that equipped, if you go to speak to Beefy Bill and ask him to take him, you can actually charm him into not taking any of your cow hides or raw beef, so he's actually depositing 100% of the contents to your bank. Now, obviously, it's not going to make you absolutely rich by doing that. However, if you are going out of your way to get these as a Slayer assignment and to try and obtain the souls, might as well make yourself some easy money at the same time, because all you need to do is keep using the area loot ability, and as soon as your inventory is full, run over to Beefy Bill, spam through the dialogue and choose the charm option. That is all then deposited to your bank. And obviously, they are currently priced about 300, 400 GP each. Obviously, it's about a K a drop, but if you spent a long time there, if you really wanted to, you would soon accumulate a bit of money. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning part of the guide, if you've got a bone crusher, that's quite handy. That then saves you having to collect bones as part of the drop. They'll automatically be buried for you. So there we are, that's my guide on the Cow Slayer assignment. So obviously I know a lot of you probably won't be watching this video, as cows are a very basic enemy to be assigned as a Slayer monster. However, I do wish to complete a guide for every single possible Slayer assignment, and obviously those of you who are just starting off may find it worthwhile to watch. So myself and Thomas will be planning to make a guide on every single one of the Slayer monsters that can be assigned as a task, and also every monster that can have its soul obtained, as we're both trying to go for 151 in our codex. So obviously there will be a lot higher level Slayer monsters and higher level guides to come as we start get going, but we're just beginning with the low level ones. But if you are looking for more guides, just keep an eye out on my Slayer playlist, which these videos are added to, and more will be coming out as the coming weeks go by. But thank you very much for watching today. Please make sure you like, favourite, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share with your friends. Thanks everyone, and happy slaying.